What is going on, everybody? We are going to talk about today why it's time to start to brace for 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy to be the week one starter in San Francisco. We're going to talk about all those reasons right now, right after this, but you already know what to do. Smash that like button and drop an SDS in the chat. Let's go. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, Sourdough Squad? Happy Wednesday to you all. And of course, we have found our way back to the San Francisco 49ers quarterback position. Every time we try to stray away and talk about the other million positions on the team, we somehow come back to the San Francisco 49ers quarterback position, but we have a reason why. We're going to talk about the 49ers quarterback. You know what? It's been an ongoing situation. I really do believe that Brock Purdy's UCL surgery really has made kind of a wait and see type situation. We really don't know because we didn't know how Brock Purdy was going to respond, how he was going to come back from the repair surgery, all that type of stuff. But we are getting more information. Things are trending in the direction, and it really feels the San Francisco 49ers will have a quarterback Brock Purdy on the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to talk about why I specifically feel that way and why I think it's trending 100% in that direction. But before we do all that, what's good, SDS? Shout out to Sourdough Squad. Shout out the Mod Squad. Shout out to see you guys go. Hopefully, you guys are doing your off season are Wednesday, June 14th. About a month and a half away from training camp. Count the days. Oh, I can't wait. All the squad. We got the Island Boys. We got GSDS in the building. New SDS in the building. Shout out to Gang. Shout out SDS. Cutting. Am I still cutting out? Yeah. I was feeling it. Hold on. One SOS. Man, I was vibing. Hold on. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Check. Check. Any difference? Any difference at all? Any difference? Am I choppy? Worse? Same? Well, hot difference. Any difference? Hello, testing. One, two, three, four. Still choppy? Much worse. Much worse. Where this is working great. This is working fantastic. Let me do one more thing. Test, test. All right. My levels look like they're better. Better now? Better? We're all right, it's over. Thank you guys for joining the show today. It's been a blast. That's it. I was just gonna tell you pretty much why I think Brock Purdy's gonna be quarterback 1 starting week 1, and that's it. No analysis, no nothing. That's it. Thank you for joining. Grab your cookies on the way out. It's been a good one. You guys are the best. I'm out of here. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Just kidding. We're just getting started. Hopefully the mic is good. You can hear me now. We had to do a little quick reset. We had to cleanse this stream really quick. We probably lost a couple people. It's all right. We just had to cleanse it. We had to reset, get things back on track. What's good, SDS? Hopefully you can hear me now. We had to cleanse the stream. So probably a couple people bounced out, but that's all right. Hopefully you can hear me loud and clear, and we're ready to go. Just do me a favor. We're already off to we're down bad already. So smash that like button if you haven't already. Oh, but we're back. Let's go. All right. Topic of the day. I know. I had you. And I was gonna say, nah, I'm still here, but hey, we just let it roll out. It's fine. It's just one of those days, right? So basically today, what we're going to be talking about is we are going to be talking about why it's time to brace for 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy to be the week 1 starter. I know we've been going back and forth, and we've been talking about open competition, all that type of stuff. But I mean, even though the messaging from Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch has kind of been that way, we even had, John Lynch say, even when Brock Purdy comes back, it's going to be an open competition. And I still think in a slight sense, it's going to be a little bit of a competition, but in all honesty, it sounds like from the reports that we got from OTAs, whether it's Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, or Brandon Allen, it doesn't sound like these reports that we're getting are really like one of these guys has just wowed throughout these periods, and that's really kind of where we needed to start for OTAs, for then to kind of transition that into training camp and have like a real shot at it. But it sounds like Brock Purdy is going to be healthy. Sounds like Brock Purdy will be available for the start of training camp. He will be throwing. And 49ers players are expecting Brock Purdy to be the week 1 starter. So it's going to be very interesting. And again, this clip, I don't think it's that crazy of a clip, but it is kind of one of the first times that we've heard George Kittle speak candidly about this. And I do think it is something that it's worth kind of listening to, kind of discussing and seeing where it goes from here. But this was George Kittle. He joined the Dan Patrick Show, was asked who he expects to be the week 1 starter for the San Francisco 49ers, and this was his answer.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure you all can hear it.
I am. I mean, if you win 8 games in a row, it's hard. Oh, yeah. I am. I mean, if you win 8 games in a row, it's hard to bench that guy.
No, I mean, health-wise.
Oh, yeah. I do. He's been throwing. I think he looks good. I've seen him throw once or twice. He's confident. He's in a good place mentally and physically. So I'm excited about that. Like I said, we were rolling with him, averaging 30 points a game. So looking forward to it.
What was it like?
So George is fantastic at this. He jokes all the time. This is his 5th year going into quarterback questions in the offseason. I've probably heard George Kittle talk more about the quarterback position than anything else over his time in the NFL, just because he's constantly asked about it and bombarded about quarterback questions wherever he goes. And of course, he's doing a media tour right now, hyping up Tight End U. That's going to be happening in about a week or so. And of course, he's getting asked about the quarterback questions and all that type of stuff. But I mean, that was kind of one of the first times for me personally that I've heard Kittle kind of open up a little bit and just be like, "Yeah, we expect Purdy to start." Now, I don't think this is groundbreaking news. I don't think this is anything like sound the alarms. George Kittle said this, but it is just an interesting piece of insight about a question that we keep asking ourselves: who's going to be the Week 1 starter for the San Francisco 49ers? And obviously, it's been a slow burn with how everything has come to fruition up until this point. Brock Purdy's rehab process was the number one linchpin in determining who's going to be the Week 1 starter. So, all things considered, and of course, we've done tape studies. We've looked at Trey's tape, Sam's tape, Brock's tape, and as long as Brock is healthy, I really do believe he's going to be the Week 1 starter for the San Francisco 49ers. I really don't think it's going to be much of a surprise at this point. I think the messaging has gone as it has, whether it's starting at the owners' meetings all the way to that Dwight Clark event where they talked more about it, to these recent press conferences. I understand why Kyle or John maybe aren't giving definitive answers on who the starting quarterback is, because they really don't know. I mean, you guys remember the famous quote, the now famous, infamous, maybe we should say, quote from Kyle Shanahan from OTAs about Brock Purdy's availability. He lit Kyle Shanahan literally said when he was being asked about Brock Purdy's availability for training camp, what did he say? He said, only God knows. So they've been non-committal, but I understand why they've been non-committal, because they believe Brock Purdy is going to be the starter, but they can't emphatically say it, I don't think, just yet, just because they don't know his process and his progress. And of course, the other layer is they did draft Trey Lance number 3 overall. They did give a ton of assets to go and get Trey Lance, which I think is where the fan base, I think, is kind of stuck in that process. I find myself weaving in and out of that process because obviously there is a notion that does exist that it doesn't matter where you were drafted or how you got to where you're at, but once you get there, you take advantage of your opportunities. Brock Purdy was drafted Mr. Irrelevant, and he got the opportunity and he took full advantage of it. At a certain point, it doesn't matter where you were drafted. It doesn't matter what. We're always going to hold on to that as fans, as analysts, as people who talk about this, because we have a perceived value for things. Did you overpay? Did you underpay? Did you get good value? Did you get bad value? Was this a good trade? Was this a horrific trade? We are always going to overanalyze those things. But I think in a football sense, in a football locker room, of course, that's going to be something that they care about. They care about getting value. They care about getting return on investment. But when it comes to football, and I'm talking about in between the white lines, once you get outside of the meeting rooms, once you get outside of the conference rooms where the draft is had and the GMs and the cap analysts and all those things happen, when you actually get onto the football field, it really I mean, there's always going to be roster politics, right? There's always going to be roster politics. But I think what the 49ers have shown to us is although roster politics do exist, I do believe they are one of the teams in the NFL who really care less about all that stuff when it's all said and done. Perfect example last year, the 49ers trade up into the third round. They take Trey Sermon high, right? Trey Sermon is underwhelming. I mean, Trey Sermon, you guys remember the running back one to take the first starting team rep in training camp while Raheem Mostert was still on the roster was Trey Sermon. I'll never forget that because I was at training camp and it's the first team period of training camp and rookie Trey Sermon is the first running back on the field and I was like ahead of Raheem Mostert, ahead of Jeff Wilson. I was flabbergasted at the fact that Trey Sermon was the number one running back on the field in first string team periods that particular training camp. Well, fast forward an entire season, Trey Sermon makes the roster just to be cut a couple days later because guy like Jordan Mason, an undrafted free agent running back out of Georgia Tech, pushed him out of a job. So I understand why it's a hard spot to be in, right? Because I look at Trey Lance. I wanted the 49ers to go all in on a quarterback. I wanted them to go get a high traits guy. Again, I was a Justin Fields guy. I liked Trey Lance, but if you guys were with me back then, I'd always say, I don't have enough on Trey. I haven't seen enough tape on Trey. I can't access enough on Trey. It wasn't an apples to apples evaluation between Trey and Justin for me, which is why I just had so much more access to Justin Fields. So that's why I leaned Justin Fields, but the same kind of archetype existed of getting a high traits quarterback to plug into Kyle's scheme that where Kyle already does a ton of the legwork by scheming things open and you put a high traits guy in there who has a running ceiling and you get true 11 on 11 football in a Kyle Shanahan scheme, right? That's what we all wanted. Trey, Fields, who cares? Like, that's just what we wanted, right? Well, they take Trey, they move up, they do all that. And unfortunately, whether it's due to injury, whether it's due to other circumstances, again, beyond Trey or Trey's responsibilities, what have you, he just hasn't taken advantage of that opportunity. Is that Trey's fault? Is that the team's fault? I don't know. We'll argue back and forth about that until the cows come home. But the reality is it hasn't happened. And number 262 rookie in last year's draft has done that. He has come in and taken advantage of those opportunities. He has come in and won multiple playoff games. And he has come in and has done things in his rookie year that we haven't even seen a veteran like Jimmy Garoppolo do. And we were talking about Jimmy Garoppolo playing his best ball that we've seen of his career before he gets hurt. Brock Purdy gets thrown into the mix, and Brock Purdy elevates the offense. Brock Purdy juiced the offense. So again, the whole point in this long tangent that I'm talking about is, yes, like we're going to always be wrapped up in how much the San Francisco 49ers traded up to number 3. We're always going to remember that. We're always going to talk about that. It's always going to be attached to Trey and Trey's story. But unfortunately, Brock has shown it before Trey has been able to. And so much so that veterans, coaches, the organization in general is fully behind Brock Purdy, and I understand it. I get it. Um, I still have high hopes for Trey. I just think we've talked about this before when we did our Trey Lance film breakdown. Trey is There's a good chance Trey doesn't find his success with the 49ers. I still think Trey will be successful. I'm starting to doubt if it will be with the 49ers. What it's going to take for Trey is to get the opportunity to do it with the 49ers. And right now, the window of opportunity feels like it's closing. So we'll see. We'll see. But I really do believe at this stage in the game, with Brock Purdy, the signs of healing, throwing again, all these things, we understand how the organization feels about him. We understand how the players feel about him, and Brock is going to improve. He is. He's going to get better from a mental standpoint, for most likely. So, and I think we're still in a world where Trey's still kind of like trying to solidify himself and solidifies mechanics, solidifies mentals, and things like that. And it's just right now, it feels like the opportunity is going to be headed towards Trey Lance. Uh, have you heard of Tom Grossi and his 30 and 30 stadium visits for St. Jude charity? No, I have not. I have not heard about that. Um, Feel free to provide more info. I'll talk about it a little more since you graciously provided a super chat, and I do appreciate that. So, if you want to provide a little bit more context or info into that, I would be more than happy to talk about it for your generous super chat. I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I have not heard of that. Well, I have it. I have the internet. Let's. What is it? Tom. Hold on. Quick squirrel. Quick squirrel. Visiting all 30 stadium. Oh, wait. Visiting 30 NFL stadiums in 30 days. All right, I'll have to do more I'll have to do more research on that. I don't know a whole lot about that. I just wish the organization would go fully in on a quarterback, but they hedge. Wish they would get some stones and move on with Trey so he can go be great and let Purdy try to prove himself here. I mean, I definitely understand what you're talking about, especially from a mental health standpoint of the fan base. But man, the 49ers have hedged for a while, right? Think back to last year. I was thinking about this the other day. I think it was yesterday. Um, that the team is going to do what's best for them and not necessarily what's best for us. I think what's best for the fan base is, yeah, you name your quarterback one, you prop up your guys, the franchise guy, we get the highlights, we get the messaging, we get the marketing behind it, we get the social media, the fan base rallies. Like that's what's best for the fan base, right? But I think because it's not solidified in stone yet, I understand why they're hedging. I understand last year why like think about this last year, and this is kind of what I was talking about. Did you know that while Trey Lance was the quarterback one for the San Francisco 49ers, the anointed quarterback one, all the messaging, the branding, the social media, everything was in lockstep with Trey Lance being quarterback 1, guess who was still in the locker room, but not on the team? I was thinking about this the other day. And again, thinking about the confidence of Trey Lance, thinking about, building an environment of belief around Trey because it's best for Trey was Jimmy Garoppolo was in that locker room all offseason. Remember? Working off on the side field. Like we made a lot about Jimmy Garoppolo being on the side field during training camp. But I think what isn't like brought to light enough is that once Jimmy was coming off the side field, he was going back into the locker room where that locker room viewed him as quarterback 1, but the job was given to Trey. Jimmy wasn't going to be on the team, but he was still in the locker room. That's an awkward scenario. For Trey, right? That's awkward for Trey. But for the team, they knew that Jimmy Garoppolo had value. I mean, look at Jimmy Garoppolo had a broken foot and he still signed a massive deal with the Raiders. He still might not even play with the Raiders, but he had a broken foot. They found it out and they still paid him. Jimmy Garoppolo had value. The 49ers knew he had value. They weren't going to let him go for nothing. And what was best for the team was keeping Jimmy Garoppolo around. Was that the best for Trey? Probably not. Probably not at all. Especially when, you let Jimmy know, like, all right, you just took us to the doorstep of the Super Bowl, but your time has come. It's now Trey Lance's job. You're still under contract. We're trying to trade you. We've been unsuccessful, but we're going to keep you around, but it's not your job anymore, and you're basically out the door. But you're still in the locker room. You're still with those same players that view you as the quarterback 1, but you're not the quarterback 1 anymore. That was a weird situation, man. I don't think we talk about that. I don't think we talk about that enough. And like how probably impactful that was on a young, impressionable 22-year-old quarterback. Like given that immense, responsibility. But the point was that keeping Jimmy around was best for the team overall because we saw what happened. They were able to get a deal done with Jimmy. Jimmy comes back as quarterback 2. Trey gets hurt week 2. And, Jimmy had some Jimmy games. The Denver game didn't play so hot against the Chiefs, but Jimmy looked pretty good after that. But then he got hurt. And thankfully, Brock Purdy was there to take it over. So, again, the point being is I understand why the hedge is happening. I understand why, from a team perspective, what they're doing makes sense from a team perspective. I know the fan base is going crazy because it doesn't make sense to the fan base because we want a quarterback 1. We want to know who the guy is. We want to be done with this conversation, right? But on the other hand, I understand why the team is hedging. I understand why the team is slow playing this because I think it's the right move. Is it the popular move? No. But it's not every popular thing is the right thing. So it's a very nuanced scenario. To be honest, it's one of the more nuanced. Again, we've been talking about the quarterback thing since for me it was 2020. I started talking about the quarterback transition in 2020. So we've been talking about this for a long time. The quarterback fatigue, the ups and downs has been immense. But with all that being said, and I've fluctuated, I'm like, oh wait, no, this is how. I'm like, wait, no, this is how. I'm just like, it's hard to make sense of it when you've been tracking this thing for almost 4 years now, and unfortunately, I think with where we stand right now, whether you're pro Trey, pro Brock, whatever, it's definitely heading towards being Brock Purdy's job. Brock Purdy is definitely gonna be, again, barring setbacks with his arm, uh, more I like, it's just the feel that I get. The feel that I get is that as long as Brock is ready to go, it's Brock's job. And I can't sit here and say he hasn't earned it because he definitely did. He definitely did. What he did was pretty solid last year, and you see the potential that he has. I know there's a lot of conversations about who Brock is and who he's not, and is it acceptable to just ride with Brock, and you know the argument between elite physical tools versus intangible. How do you what is more important when it comes to successful quarterback play? And in a perfect world, it's both. It's physical tools and intangible tools. And being able to throw the ball wherever you want, but have the intangibles to be able to lead, to be able to manage, to be able to read defenses, to be able to put your team in good positions. Like that has nothing to do with throwing the football, but it is a massive part of playing the quarterback position. Massive part of playing the quarterback position. You got to see the field. You got to understand small nuances of the game within the game. Like I think the quarterback conversation is so hyper focused on the physical tools right now, the lack thereof for Jimmy, or excuse me, lack thereof for Purdy, and the tools that Trey possesses, right? And those are the kind of the war that we're seeing waged between, is it traits? Is it tools? Honestly, there's a million ways that you can be successful in regards to quarterback play. And I think Brock Purdy is one of them without having elite tools or traits. Um, but there's also the flip side of it. So it's definitely going to be an ongoing, interesting conversation surrounding it. But I do believe that as we stand right now in June, that the arrow is trending towards Brock. And I do think, regardless of where Trey was drafted, Trey's circumstances, Sam Darnold, even, it's going to be Brock. And, I think that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It makes sense to me. I know there are a lot of people who are fans of Trey Lance and want to see Trey be that guy. But I think it's also okay to be a fan of a guy, but also understand kind of the natural reality of where we're at with the whole thing. So it's tough, man. I get it. I get it. You know, you're invested into a guy. We absolutely thought, like, regardless of anything going on, that Trey was going to be the future of the franchise, but it doesn't feel like it's trending in that direction. Obviously there's still hope that, and I have belief that Trey's going to be a good quarterback, but again, it's starting to feel like that window is like it's cracked open. There's a crack. There's really a crack. I think it would take, again, another opportunity where Brock can't go and Trey gets his chance. And then Trey has the window to be able to take advantage. Again, it's vice versa, roles reversed. You got to take advantage of the opportunity. The opportunity's there. You have to steal it. It was one of the first things that we talked about this offseason, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. Remember those conversations that we had about this quarterback competition. but you have to steal it. You're not gonna be handed this opportunity. Trey has to steal this back. Trey has to grab it. It's not like it has to be different. It's not just winning, it's taking. Trey has to take back that spot. And I don't think he's taken it back yet. Has he progressed? Has he gotten better? Has he improved? By all accounts, yes, he has. But I'm not hearing anything that would really indicate that he's taken it. Training camp, we'll have a better idea. Pads are going to be popping. I do think they're going to rotate reps pretty evenly. What we saw last year for the most part was 3 reps Trey, 3 reps Sudfeld, 3 reps Brock, and they would just kind of rotate. A lot of rotations in training camp just because you have such a limited window of practice. And as a result, you got to kind of squeeze everyone in. So I expect Trey to get reps in training camp. I expect Brock to get reps in training camp, and they want to see what Sam Darnold is. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this whole thing plays out. I agree. Preseason's going to not only preseason, just this off-season training camp is going to be wild. Now, the door again, like I said, the door isn't shut yet. That's why I think I saw someone say brace. Like, why would we brace? Is to say it's a matter of fact. Like, where did that go? Where did it go? Yeah, right here. Why brace? Because people, like I see it, the door's shut. Yeah, I think. Eh, I think it's cracked open a little bit. The reason why I say it's cracked open, um, is because opportunity could still exist. I don't want to speak it into the universe, right? Because I'm not trying to put that energy out there. But who knows what happens with any of these guys? Just like Brock got his chance due to injury, right? That's how he got his shot. All the quarterbacks in front of him got injured, right? He beat out Nate Sudfeld in a training camp battle that I didn't even know was happening. I was over here sitting there like, oh, Sudfeld got $2 million guaranteed, for sure going to be a lock to be the backup quarterback. No way. No way they're going to eat a guaranteed $2 million for Mr. Irrelevant. I didn't even pay attention to Brock. I was going back through some of my old training camp notes and tweets, and I definitely made note of some big plays that Brock Purdy had in training camp. But I don't think I allowed my mind to get past that rational process of, oh, they gave Sudfeld guaranteed $2 million, and they're just going to bring back Brock to the practice squad. They'll give him a shot next year. They said nope. They said nope. He beats out Suddy, and then gets his opportunity due to injury. The reason why I say the door is cracked and why we brace is because we don't know how training camp will go. We don't know. We anticipate how it will go. We anticipate that Brock will be QB1. We anticipate that Brock stays healthy. We anticipate all those things, but we just don't know. That's why we brace. That's why this is a range of outcome shows. We look at all the potential ranges of outcomes, whether minuscule chance or huge chance. It is a range of outcome. There's a range of outcome where opportunity may still exist for Trey, but I feel like that gap, which felt a little bit bigger before OTAs, I think has started to close with the news that Brock is getting healthy and and Brock is improving, or from a physical standpoint. So it's gonna be interesting, man. Going to be interesting. What say you in the chat? Obviously, this conversation always gets people talking about the quarterback. Let's do a little poll. Let's do a reset. Let's do a little polling of the chat, shall we? Uh, let's do. This is our question. I'm gonna do it even. I'm gonna do it all fancy. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna do it all fancy. Who will be? Do it all fancy. Super fancy. Are you ready? Super fancy. We got the scroller. Who will be the week 1 starting quarterback? Drop it in the chat. I want to see what you, the people, think. As we again, this is an evolving situation. New information is going to change things. So, but I want to know, as we currently stand right now, who do you think? Honestly, this isn't like you're a fan of Trey and you just want Trey to start. This is like, put yourself in the 49ers shoes. Put yourself with what they're thinking. Their thinking could be completely different than yours. And that's kind of the trap that we get ourselves in, is who do you think the team is going to start? Not who you want to start, who the team is going to start. I think there's a huge difference when we talk about that, because obviously you have fans on both sides for sure, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the reason why this guy starts because you like him a lot. You have to put yourself in the franchise's shoes. So let's see. Poll in the chat who you think is going to be the week 1 starter for the San Francisco 49ers at quarterback. Again, moving targets, why we keep coming back to it. First one out the gate is Trey, Brock, Lance, Brock. If healthy, it will be Brock. Purdy is the obvious answer. Brock, if healthy, Purdy, but no health excuses. I think that's fair. Purdy. Brock, and it's obvious. It is starting to feel more obvious for sure. Still think Purdy will have acclimation time before starting week 1. I mean, when is week 1 start? Around September. I mean, he'll have if he's ready at the start of training camp, Brock will have probably a little bit over a month, maybe like a month and a half to prepare for week 1. So that's a lot of time. If he's cleared, that means if he's there day 1 of training camp, I mean, he's fully cleared for football activity, meaning he could play in a game if he wanted. That means that he would have about approximately a month and a half to get ready for week 1. That's a decent time. This is a decent amount of time. Brock did more than enough, but let's be real. CMC goes down, season isn't the same. CMC's huge. I won't discredit that at all. CMC is insanely impactful to the 49ers offense. Brock, it's not even a comp. Purdy, pretty sure it's Brock. Brock earned it. If I had to bet money on it, I think Brock Purdy is the starter week 1. Brock will start. If Purdy is healthy, you start him. If not, Trey starts unless Trey balls out this offseason and preseason. Again, Trey's got to take it. Not going to be handed to him. Not even close to be handed to him. He's got to take it. And that means high level of play. means he's got to outperform Purdy all throughout training camp, go nuts in the preseason, go like bonkers. Like, is that Patrick Mahomes out there? No, that's Trey Lance. Like, that's what Trey would have to do, in my opinion, to be able to get that shot. Purdy starts week 1. It's not even questionable. Brock to start. Purdy deserves it more. Lance will start, and Purdy will eventually be moved in once they are comfortable with the recovery of his arm, and when we've lost a few games. Damn. Ouch. Unless something spectacular happens in training camp with Trey, it's going to be Purdy starting and Lance at second. I think we're kind of on the same page here. I like Brock and Trey. No, Brock, so biased, but doesn't mean I don't like Trey. Brock, then Lance. So it does feel like the overwhelming thought process is it's going to be Brock. And that's why I think we're kind of on the same page. I don't think Purdy goes on the PUP. I think he's ready to go. We'll see if he starts week 1, but I don't think he's on PUP. Brock better, Trey. If Brock better, Trey. If they start their dude, I can't talk or read today. I see what you're saying though. Too soon. Way too soon. I think calling it a competition. See, this is how I've always rationalized it from like a marketing perspective, from the 49ers standpoint. By calling it a competition, you give the illusion that someone is as beating the other guy. You like, even if it's not, I think it disarms people, because as like, I can tell you this directly from the responses that the posts that I have put out, because again, their language has dictated that it is some form of a competition. How much of a competition is it? I don't know, but they have had the messaging that it will be some form of competition. Fans can get around that idea. Fans can rationalize competition because it's football. What they don't want to hear is it's Brock's job, Trey has 0 shot, right? Because then I think fans will be like, oh, why did you draft Trey? Why did you trade up to get Trey? You know, like and they have to be cautious a little bit because they don't know where Brock is at, truthfully. So that's why I think fans can rationalize it being a competition, because, hey, fair and square, the best man won. We can live with that. You know, Brock, the best man won. It's Brock beat out Trey, and everyone's like, okay, Brock beat out Trey. Makes sense. Let's move on. I think from that particular standpoint, but again, it's nuance. There's multiple things. I think there's, Brock has obviously earned it. If Brock didn't get hurt, we wouldn't be talking about it as a competition. We'd be talking about it as Brock is the starter, right? Like, I think that's the important thing to remember is if Brock never got hurt, we would still be talking about Brock. The messaging would be Brock is quarterback 1 heading into OTAs. That, I think, would be the messaging. But I think because of his injury, the uncertainty, Sam Darnold and Trey are absolutely competing. Like I think Trey, Sam, and Brandon Allen are absolutely competing. They are trying to identify what do we do with these 3 guys? We're keeping 2 of them. Well, what are we doing with all 3? I think 150,000,000% Trey, Sam, and Brandon Allen are in a quarterback competition. I think it's asterisk Brock because he got hurt and they just got to wait and see. And I think it's easier for fans to rationalize the idea of it genuinely being a competition that someone has to win. And then once that person wins it, they can rationalize it better. And there's hope for Trey, right? There's hope that he can win that job. And if he doesn't win that job, it becomes more so about Trey not winning the job than the 49ers not giving Trey a chance. Does that make sense? Like, so it's nuanced, man. It's nuanced. I could be reading it wrong. That's just my thoughts on it. That's just how I perceive it. It doesn't mean it's the right thing, doesn't mean it's the right way. I mean, I feel confident in my ability to evaluate these things, but again, I'm not always right. We'll see. It was funny because if you remember when Trey came in as a rookie, they wouldn't call it a quarterback competition between him and Jimmy, right? They just wouldn't say it. They wouldn't say it was Jimmy's quarterback 1, Trey's just kind of vibing. They wouldn't call it a competition. We were like, why won't they call it a competition? So I think it's a little bit opposite of that, just a little bit. But again, nuanced situation, a lot of moving parts, a lot of uncertainty. And as a result, I think they have to be open-minded. I really do. I really, really do. I like this question. Shout out my day 2 boy. It's a good question. So since Purdy is day 1 starter, what's season expectations? So my expectation, and Papa, I see your super chat. I'll get to that one in a second. My expectations for Brock as the quarterback 1 all the way throughout is efficiency. Becoming more efficient than he was. He is already putting up pretty solid efficiency numbers. He definitely wasn't perfect. He got away with a couple, dropped interceptions and things like that. He definitely wasn't perfect. But I don't expect a rookie, let alone Mr. Irrelevant, to be perfect. That's just not an expectation that I have. But my expectation for next year is those things improve. The bailing out of the pocket, because you got 2 versions of Trey bailing out, or excuse me, of Brock bailing out of the pocket. One can bait and sucker free rushers like guys that I've never seen do it before. But then you also get some versions of Brock where he bails maybe a little early. He spins out into a rusher. So refining that, he's got the baseline ability. He has that. It's refining it. It's being more effective with it. With seeing the defense, it's being more efficient, more effective. He's already those things. It's just taking it to another level. And if he's able to do it at another level, then of course his game will improve. The team will improve as a result. So Brock has the ability to do it, man. He really does. And just like any other rookie, any other developing player, because I think you have to remember that Brock is still developing. He's not a finished product at all. But the fact that he's not a finished product gets me excited because that means there's room for improvement. That means he can get better at certain aspects of his game. And that's what, when I watch Brock on tape as a rookie, I see a guy who can do it as a rookie from a baseline, kind of a baseline perspective. but give him a full off season. Give him year 2 in the scheme. Give him a better understanding of what the NFL is, and I think he improves. I think he's built that way. I think he's has a strong mental fortitude where I'm hopeful that the injury doesn't cause him any setbacks mentally. And if he can continue to improve as a processor, all that stuff, I think he will be really, really good. So my expectations for Brock would be to improve. I wouldn't expect him to be baseline what he was last year. I would expect him to take steps forward. I would expect him to be take a little bit better care of the football, better pocket awareness. It's not that it's bad, but I think it will improve because he already shown me the baseline ability to have pretty darn solid pocket awareness. I think he can get better at it for a longer period of time. And then just making some better throws or not forcing some throws. But again, he already has the baseline of being able to do it really well. So I think he can definitely improve from that standpoint. Did you watch Purdy at Iowa State? He always learns from his mistakes, so he don't make the same mistake ever again. I mean, I've noticed that with the tape on the 49ers. He does do a pretty good job of kind of identifying certain mistakes and trying to get past it. I noticed that as a rookie. Do you guys remember when I was talking about Brock Purdy as a rookie before the draft? Because I don't know if you guys remember, I was at the NFL Combine and I was intrigued by his tight end. I forget his first name, but the tight end's last name was Allen. He was like 6'6", but he moved really fluid. And I was like, I saw that guy at the Combine. I was like, all right, I'm going to go take a look at this tight end, the 6'6" tight end out of Iowa State. And that's when I first noticed Brock Purdy. And we talked about him on the show. We talked about him pre-draft. We're like, dude, I don't know who this. I knew nothing about Brock. I was like, I don't know who this Brock Purdy guy is, but he's got some zip on the ball. Like he can get that thing out fast. Like because I was watching the tape to watch the tight end, but it was Brock who stood out. And so then at that point, that's when I started taking Brock it in the 7th round of all my mocks. He was my Mr. Irrelevant pick from that point on. So Brock jumped out to me in college, but I'm not going to sit here and victory lap and say I knew he was going to be a starter in the NFL. He was like, oh, he seems like a perfect Mr. Irrelevant last pick in the NFL draft. Take a flyer on a quarterback. Looks like he fits what Kyle has had success with in the past. And so that's why I would take Nick Mullins in that spot. It actually all came to fruition because I was actually scouting the tight end, and that was my first kind of example. But, keeping this 16 touchdown to 4 interception ratio, I think if he can keep those types of efficiency numbers from the, touchdown to turnover ratio, that would be huge. I think his completion percentage will have an opportunity to go up a little bit. If we're talking 69, 70% completion percentage from Brock Purdy in year 2, that would be absolutely huge. Obviously, if you can take these numbers, and I think Brock Purdy's capable of throwing like 4,000 plus yards in Kyle's offense. The question becomes, can Brock Purdy sustain multiple 1,000-yard receivers? And I think in this offense, he can. I think he can. CMC, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Because of those guys, because of the offense, because of the scheme, all of it, because of their yak ability, I think Brock Purdy can sustain multiple 1,000-yard wide receivers. I think Deebo Samuel's going crazy this year. I was very cautious of Deebo last year because of the whole contract situation. It just I don't know. I've been watching Deebo for a long time, since the Senior Bowl. He was one of my biggest draft crushes from the Senior Bowl. So I've been following Deebo before he was a 49er, pretty much watching everything that he's ever put out in regards to workouts, training, all that type of stuff. And just last year was a weird year for Deebo, obviously, and rightfully so. He's talked about it. But this year feels different. I feel like, did I say Nick Mullins? God, I hope not. I think Debo's going crazy this year. I think Debo's going to blow up. I think Debo's going to blow up on top of Brandon Ayuk surpassing 1,000 yards. I think CMC has an opportunity to go for 1K receiving. You think of how much they utilized CMC in the screen game, in the short passing game. I think CMC can go for 1K. Bro, could you imagine if Brock Purdy sustained 4 1,000-yard receivers? BA, Debo, CMC, and Kittle. And not necessarily because he's pushing the ball 45 to 70 yards downfield like everyone keeps talking about, because the offense doesn't require that. The offense doesn't require Brock to go downfield 16 times a game. It's based on setting up the big play, based on setting up those situations. So again, if Brock can manage and execute the offense like he did, but take it a step further and do it across 17 games. Clip this, remember this. There is a chance that Brock Purdy can sustain 4,000-yard receivers. Is it going to happen? I don't know. Could it happen? I think so. And it's, might not happen like, Mahomes would do it, but it would happen in the way Brock Purdy would do it. Hey, we'll see. We'll see. But I do think these guys are going to be in for he said, if we want to see Brad drunk, we got to do an drinking game. I dare one of you. I dare one of you at the start of one of my streams to start a drinking game and just update us every time. Just let us know how it goes. Let us know how it goes, man. Let me get to the super chat. Papa Phil said, it starts with the O-line, no improvement. Why hasn't the O-line improved? This is my wheelhouse right here. You've entered into my school of thought. We've tasted it, and we've developed a system of breathing apparatus to hunch you on your own grounds. Sorry. That was a terrible movie reference. But it starts with the O-line. We agree with that. It does. It always starts up front. No improvement, though. I could challenge you on that. I really could. I really, really could. because I do believe that Aaron Banks improves. So there's one. I need Trent to stay the same. That's my thing. I just need Trent to stay the same. If Trent stays the same, perfect. I don't want Trent to start going the wrong way. If Trent stays the same, we're good. I expect Banks to improve. I expect Brendel to improve. I expect Burford to improve. And if he doesn't improve, then I expect Feliciano to fill in that hole. With Colton McKivitz, I think there will be a slight step back from a run game perspective, but I still think Colton will be able to hold his own. So if your interior improves, Trent stays the same. Colton is just I think he's like a little teardrop down from what McGlinchey was. There's improvement. Might not be massive improvements, but I think there's room for that O-line to improve. You have to, there 3 new interior offensive linemen with one of your guards rotating every other play. Like that is not I'm a big continuity guy on the O-line. Didn't get a whole lot of big continuity on that O-line last year. So I could see it improving. What changes versus the Eagles? Is this an O-line question or is this just an overarching question? Appreciate the super chats, Papa Phil. I just want to clarify if we're talking O-line changes or global changes. What changes versus the Eagles? Our next game against the Eagles in the same situation. I am a peacock, man. You got to let me fly. You got to let me spread my wings. You got to let me get out there. What changes versus the Eagles? You know what? I don't think a whole lot changes. Something tells me Kyle would still pull out that first sequence and try it again. Knowing Kyle, and Kyle's a little stubborn. I respect it. I feel like Kyle would pull out that same sequence. I feel like he would. I did a thread on how he was setting up that play that Purdy got hurt. Like I could see it. I knew what Kyle was doing. Kyle was in the lab cooking, and unfortunately, the worst possible thing could happen. But I knew what Kyle was doing. I could see the setup. I could even probably pull it up because I did the whole thread on it. It didn't go as it planned. It actually went the complete opposite of how it should have went. But I could see Kyle just, pulling out the same sequence to start the game against the Eagles. I could see it. Because you remember, so Brock on this play, he got hurt on the 6th play of the game, right? So as you know, coordinators go into games and they script the first 15, first 20. So that's what they drill in practice. It's what Kyle spends all week building his game plan off of the first 15 to 20 scripted plays. And then he makes adjustments off of that kind of initial plan, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. Then you tweak, you do this, you start to see what happens, right? You see how that all plays out. But again, like you see how he was getting this whole thing set up. He was running out of 12 personnel. So this sequence started on the fourth play where, nothing crazy about this formation, is running it out of 12 personnel. And you'll be able to start to see how he's trying to formulate this shot to Ayuk. So it's a quick shot to Ayuk, right? You get motion across. So they want to see how these guys are going to react to the motions. Both tight ends release into the routes. Okay, play 5. Look, same formation, right? Same formation. Now you got Debo flipped to the other side. They hand it to Debo. Look at who gets trapped, right? Look at who gets trapped right here. Look who's rushing up the field. That's Hassan Reddick, right? So they're running counter. Banks gets his hat on Reddick. Ooh, man, if Trent gets that block, I would say if Trent gets that, doesn't duck the head, gets head on the outside shoulder, Debo's cooking. But hey, didn't happen. Slay makes the tackle. But again, look at the formation, right? 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, almost same alignment. Debo just flips sides. They run counter, right? So they go run. And then the 6th play is the play that we all love. It's look at the formation. Same formation. 12 personnel, 2 tights right. They now have this flipped. So Debo goes into this location. Now CMC goes to the running back. And this orbit motion, theoretically, supposed to pause Reddick a little bit more, right? So you can see how Kyle was dialing this thing up. Was it executed well? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But I could see what Kyle was cooking over there. I could see it. It just ended the worst possible way imaginable. So, what changes versus the Eagles? We have a healthy quarterback, and Kyle's still out here trying to dial it up. That's what I think. I don't think a whole lot changes. I think if Brock is healthy, obviously you're not going to go in with the exact same game plan or anything, but that'd be something that I would love to see if they show up and the first couple plays are out of that 12 personnel package with 2 tights. You got Kittle, Latu, and they start to run that same. They do like a quick out to Ayuk. You get a counter, and bro, if they do that, I want to be on Twitter like, they're doing it again. Look at Kyle, he's doing it again. What if Kyle sets up the same sequence and Brock hits Ayuk for that touchdown? How wild would that be? How wild. Like, we're sitting here watching it play out. Like, oh, he's in 12 personnel, 2 tight ends to the right side. Look at where Debo is. Look at where CMC is. Okay, quick out Ayuk. Okay, next play. Counter. Okay. Play action. I was Tell me you can't see Kyle doing that. Tell me you can't see. I could totally see it. I could see Kyle just like, you know what? To all you guys on Twitter roasting me all year for that play calling, I could see him pulling it out again and then watching them actually hit it to Ayuk for a touchdown. Oh, my goodness. You can't tell me that wouldn't be poetic. You can't tell me it wouldn't. To be able to run the same sequence, the same setup, the same formations, and hit it for a touchdown. You can't tell me that wouldn't be poetic. Very first drive, line up, same setup. It would be amazing. But what changes? Again, being healthy is what changes. That's really what changes. I didn't have a problem with the Brock Purdy play. I definitely didn't love the Josh Johnson play. I really didn't care. I really didn't have too much issues with the first play call with Brock getting hurt, but the Josh Johnson one was pretty bad. That one wasn't great. Trying to, pull Kittle across formation to block Hassan Reddick, and just that was like the first play on the next drive. Yeah, that one wasn't great. I didn't like that one a whole lot. I had less of a problem with the Brock injury play, but kind of going right back to it and then getting Josh blasted. That was like, oof, that one's not the best. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Will be interesting. But hey, didn't think I was going to be talking about the Philly game today. So that's how you know we're off the rails. Shout out to that game that is going to live in our heads forever. So I'm just hoping that we go in there and we get that dub because we need it. We need it for our mentals. We need it for our mentals, for sure. I'm not talking, Papa. I'm not talking about the one where he got hurt. I'm talking about it was like the first play of the Josh Johnson series where he got lit up by Hassan Reddick on almost. It wasn't the same play, but it was another difficult concept where you had Kittle coming all the way across the formation to try to kick out Hassan Reddick. It was a difficult block. It's a difficult ask for Kittle, who's the best blocking tight end in the NFL. But yeah, I'm not talking about the Sue one. I was talking about the other one. We have multiples. Oh gosh, man. Gosh, what a shitty day. What a shitty day. Wasn't planning on talking about that game. What a shitty day. Just I normally don't swear too much on these things, but God, I don't know how else to describe it. Being there. I was there. I was in that stadium. God. Sickening. Oh, gross. He said I'm crying like Bro, I wanted to cry. I was like, man, I couldn't believe it. I remember I sat in that stadium because I had to do my interview on Cron 4. So I was actually able to get on the field. I got on the field. I did my interview with Cron 4. I went back up into the stadium. Stadium's completely empty. And I just sat there, just knowing like what the off season was going to be. And I was just like, once I leave this stadium, like it's going to be rough. Like it's going to be, I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, good memories. Good memories. Hey, I appreciate that. But anyways, let's wrap it up for the day. Wasn't planning on getting into Eagles PTSD, but yet here we are. I'm sure I did. But I appreciate you guys as always tapping in for the off-season content. It's truly appreciated. Grab your cookies on the way out. I appreciate y'all. We'll be back for more again, I'm not trying to talk about the quarterback every day. I just felt like the timing had built up. So that's what we do. Yes, we are, Peter. We're gonna make new memories. 100%. Got to put it behind us. We got to move forward. And remember, right? We get that sixth ring. Nothing else matters. So, man, we need that ring, baby. But the vibes continue. We're gonna keep hunting. Appreciate y'all, man. Smash that like button on your way out. Appreciate y'all. I'm out of here for now. Appreciate the super chats. Appreciate the comments. Appreciate the discourse. Again, I love that we can have these hard conversations and not rip each other apart. That's why the SDS is awesome. Even if we don't see eye to eye, we can have a conversation about it. That's a good thing. So appreciate y'all. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.